Good evening, gentlemen. Sorry to pull you away from your meals this wonderful Thursday evening, but it's great to have you all. How are you all doing?
Still alive.
Excellent.
Good.
Yeah, I'm still wearing that shirt. It's like, I know you didn't take a shower yet. I did not. Okay. All right. So let me preempt you before you even say that. But once again, this show is called Cruising with a Case Handler. And of course, it's where we talk about personal injury and immigration. Want to say welcome to Conrad Pollack. You weren't here this morning, but it's good to have you this evening. Nelson, welcome back. Adam Handler, welcome back. Alan, it seems like you're in the dark there, man. You good over there? The general?
I'm good.
God, always the first to log on, man. Anyway, welcome to the show, gentlemen. It's going to be great. I just wanted to say to everybody out there just logging on Facebook, please, we ask for you to start sharing. Now, you may share on your own timeline, share on your friend's timeline. You may share in groups. You may share on pages that you're a part of. Please do so. We do appreciate you doing that. So thank you all so much for doing that. Adam, you want to say anything about your own show?
No, listen, who works harder than people, right? I mean, we did the show this morning at 9:30. We're here in the evening at 6. We're not live on 93.5 FM, but we are live on Facebook and social media, which is extremely exciting. Reaching out to those people that maybe are at work or in bed or doing something else at 9:30, not tuning in. So the most important message we can give out right now is basically who we are and what we do. And I'll answer that very briefly. We are Pollack, Isaac DeSico. We are a full service law firm here in Manhattan. And what we do injury cases. We do immigration cases. We do real estate cases. We do matrimonial cases, family cases. You got a legal problem? We'll try this again, Squeeze, right? You got a legal problem? We got a legal solution. You got a legal question? We got a legal
answer.
That's right. But all you have to do is call our phone number, and we give 100% free advice over the phone. That's right, free phone consultations. You just got to give us a ring because we won't know you're out there. We won't know that you need our help legitimizing your status here in the United States. We won't know that you need our help fighting a deportation case. We won't know that you need our help when you get into a car accident or construction accident or slip and fall. We need you to come to us first. And as long as you have that number saved, or as long as you actually know about our firm and can Google us, Google PPID or Google Case Handler, you'll be connected to attorneys that really care. And we've got a great panel tonight. This is the all-star team right here. It's myself. They call me the Case Handler. They also call me the Beast. They call me the Hot Stepper today because we just disclosed that we got the $20 million mark for 2020. We got the Maestro, who is Conrad Pollack, the architect of this firm, the managing partner of this firm. And we got Nelson Madrid, the Maverick. Why the Maverick? Because he doesn't care what the hell the government says. He flies by his own rules. He's going to help you fight that case and keep you in this country if, God forbid, you're facing deportation. And, of course, Alan Kay, the general, the most experienced immigration attorney, broadcasting on the airwaves, giving out legal advice, giving out information about our firm, information about the immigration process in general, and information about things that are happening within New York and federal immigration law changes. So without further ado, I guess I'll stop talking, right, Conrad? Let's give it up and see who we can pass the mic to right now.
Yeah, let's hand the microphone over to the general. The general happens to be one of the most experienced immigration attorneys, period, in the nation. And he has updates for us as usual. So as we rev up the questions, once again, folks, if you do have questions, you can place them on Facebook. You can place them in a WhatsApp group. Tracy, if you can actually pin that WhatsApp group on Facebook, that will be great. But the general, can you bring us up to speed with any matters on immigration? Conrad, Nelson, if you guys have anything to say where that is concerned, you can jump into it.
Okay, to start off with, Conrad Pollack has talked recently about people who were not U.S. citizens but came to the United States and made great contributions. We know that Turkish immigrant scientists in Germany and Greek Pfizer CEO have helped to bring across this new Pfizer vaccine. So here's a contribution. President Trump has been tearing down immigrants, and these three people have helped to bring forth the Pfizer vaccine, which is currently being used in the UK right now. Secondly,
No, but Alan, if I could interrupt you for a second,
Sure.
if Trump were listening right now, and who knows, maybe he is. No, I'm sorry. What time is it? He's got to be watching Hannity right now. But he would say that, well, that's just two, there's an exception to every rule. What about all these other companies? What about Moderna? I think the entire leading the board of that company and the founders of that company, all immigrants. Right? What about the tech industry, where Zoom? I believe the medium we're using at the moment was created by an immigrant. And if he was, I don't remember offhand, so I don't want to misspeak, but I have no doubt that immigrants were involved in the founding of Zoom, if not directly responsible. And the list goes on and on and on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, that's okay. Here's another good one right where you left off. The new DHS secretary is going to be Alejandro Mayorkas. Alejandro Mayorkas said this: "When I was very young, the United States provided my family and me a place of refuge." He sent a tweet out. "Now I've been nominated to be DHS secretary and oversee the protection of all Americans and those who flee persecution in search of a better life for themselves and their loved ones." So here's Mr. Mayorkas, who came here from Cuba. He's a Cuban Jew. I've met him before, and he's going to be our new DHS secretary, meaning that he's going to be in charge of CBP. He's going to be in charge of ICE. He's going to be in charge of USCIS and a lot of other government agencies. So there's another thing that people who came to the United States who weren't born here have done. Okay, now.
You met this man before, Alan?
What was that?
You've had the pleasure of meeting this man?
Yes.
Okay, all right. What do you personally think of him?
Oh, he's a terrific guy. I mean, all the people I know have only said good things about him. And he was on television today. I just missed that program and wanted to see if it'll be rebroadcast. But this guy's great, really, really good. Now, I mentioned this morning that PPID was in the news last week in Long Island Newsday about one of our clients. The case is still going on. It's a very sad case, but PPID is mentioned prominently in Long Island Newsday, and I think that Squeeze has a copy of that story, and we'll put it up so people can read it. But it's a very interesting and sad story. We're hoping we can still pull it out. Okay, now, something interesting I learned today is this: that people have been filing notices with immigration, and they're not getting receipts. Well, why is that? Because receipt notices are not coming. There's at least a 6-week delay in terms of getting your receipt notices. And therefore, these receipt notices usually come from the lockbox. There are 2 lockboxes in the country. Lockbox is getting at least 1,000 inquiries a day saying, "Where's my receipt? Where's my receipt?" And the lockboxes have close to 500,000 unopened envelopes sitting in the lockboxes. So if you're waiting for your receipt from USCIS, it may be one of the 500,000 in unopened envelopes that are sitting at the lockboxes.
There's a good reason for the inquiries, Alan. I mean, and Nelson, normally in normal times, for instance, back in 2016, you submit you pay your fee and you submit your application, you get a receipt in a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe. Right? But under the current administration and with their attempts to modernize and their methods of innovation, now it takes 2 months to get a receipt.
Well, when I said it's at least 6 weeks, add another 2 weeks if you filed an application for adjustment of status, I-485. So that's at least 6 weeks, another 8 weeks, right? Okay, now some other things. The public charge rule is still playing around in the courts. And so the best advice that we can give you, if you're filing an application for adjustment of status, file the 944, the public charge form. Biden is saying when he gets in, he's going to wipe this whole public charge thing out. But right now, if you're going to be filing, put it in. And if you didn't put it in previously, you may be getting something called an RFE, or request for evidence. Okay, another one of my favorite topics is the new civics portion of the naturalization test. And some people feel that this was a last minute effort from the Trump administration to cut off access to citizenship. Now, people who have filed already, you may be getting this, be subject to this new civics test. Basically, we're hoping the Biden administration will reverse course and take out this new test. The problem with the new test is that the old test had 100 questions and you had to get 6 right. The new test.
Well, wait. No,
Six
it wasn't
right, 6 out of 10.
exactly. It wasn't 100 questions and you had, you just had to get 6 right. You get 94 wrong, but you get, as long as you get 6 right, you get your citizenship.
Correct.
That wasn't the way it was.
You had to get 6 out of 10, which was about a 60% approval. And now they're going to ask you 20 questions and you have to get 12 right. And you have to also demonstrate an understanding of the English language, which means that you can comprehend, speak, read, and write basic English. And how do you show that? Well, by the USCIS officer reading aloud a single sentence to you, and you're supposed to understand that, and you're supposed to write a single sentence of basic English dictated to you. Now, if you fail the civics test, they will give you another opportunity to take it again within 60 to 90 days. So you get 2 chances to pass. The problem is,
Alan, do you have any,
yes,
just so we're clear, the way it used to work is there are potential 100 questions that you could be asked. So
yes,
basically, out of that 100 questions, they would pick 10 and you have to get 6 right. Now there are 128 potential questions,
yes,
right? And they ask you 20 and you have to get 12 right. So
correct.
basically the idea is you're supposed to study 128 of those questions and know them all, so you're ready for the 20. Do you know any of the questions offhand? Any of the types of questions they're going to ask?
Yes, I do. And the thing is that some of these, what they did was the original 100 questions, they reworked them and made those original 100 questions, some of them more difficult. And I can give you some examples. Nelson, did you want to say?
I actually, right, I just want to jump in for a second. The way it used to work as well was once you answered 6 questions correct, that part of the exam was done. Now you will be asked all 20 questions, of which you have to get 12 right. What they started doing as well was when they would pick someone up, the way it typically works when you have an interview is you're in a waiting room, you're given a number, eventually an officer comes out, calls out your number. And one of the things they would start doing was they would start engaging the person in conversation on the way to the room, on the way to the interview room.
Not the lawyer?
Well, no, with the lawyer, but they would ask them, how are you today, right? Because technically you're supposed to speak English, right? So some people couldn't, some people are trained only to answer the questions. So they would ask, how are you today? Do you suffer from a disability, right? So if you don't speak English, you can't really respond. And then when you walk into the room, there would be 3 chairs. And the officer would ask the person, please sit in the chair in the middle. And if the person sat on the chair to the right hand or to the left hand side, at that point, the officer, and I saw it happen, the officer could say, okay, I don't think there's any need to go any further here. It's pretty obvious your client doesn't speak English. Because the client wasn't sitting he couldn't answer the 2 or 3 questions they asked him on the way to the room. You get into the room, they tell him sit in the middle, and he sits on the chair to the right, to the right-hand side or to the left-hand side. So he obviously can't follow directions, which means he does not speak English. And they stopped the interview at that point and rescheduled the person for another interview.
They really do all of that?
Yeah.
It's worse than that. I mean,
Well, that's something, again, I've been doing this for some time. But that's something that started happening under this current administration. That was something I had not seen before. At one point I actually tried to help my client. I said, in Spanish, I said to him, listen, please pay attention. And the officer got irate. Me and the officer exchanged words. He had me wait outside, like I was in the 8th grade and I was being punished by the teacher. And I mean, again, these are things that I had never seen before, which apparently became commonplace under this administration.
Let's just paint with a very broad stroke right now. Why the hell would you do this on your own without a lawyer? Right? This is why we do this show, is to let everybody out there know what we do as a firm, how we represent our client, and how we try our best to get the most successful result possible. Knowing that all this stuff happens, ladies and gentlemen listening out there, watching out there, why would you ever try to do this stuff on your own?
I'll tell you why, Adam, because they had a cousin or they had their next door neighbor who did it themselves 5 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever. And that person said, come on, you don't need a lawyer. Why are you going to spend the money on a lawyer? You can do this yourself. Now, welcome to 2020, all right? And the Trump administration and Stephen Miller, who is,
on the way
not
out.
Not a good guy, yes, on the way out, and not the nicest guy. He wasn't, not exactly the friend of the immigrant, I would say. And these people don't realize that things have changed quite a bit. Yeah, 5 years ago, you might have been able to do this by yourself if you have a clean enough case. These days, it doesn't matter. They're trying to get everybody out. So things have changed, and unfortunately, some people don't realize that until it's too late.
And some people should never file for citizenship. Maybe they have a green card, they've been waiting to file, and they file, and it turns out there's a skeleton in their closet. And not only will they not become a citizen, they could be on the way to losing their green card. So that's something you have to realize, that maybe some people should not file, and that's another reason you should see a lawyer, see one of us, so we can go through your skeleton. Conrad wanted to answer one of some examples of the questions. So let me give you at least one and maybe more. The question used to say, who does the United States Senator represent? The correct answer is everyone in their state. The new question, the answer is supposed to be citizens in their state. Much harder to comprehend, and people who English is their second language are not very good, are not going to get this right. And so there's a whole bunch of these kind of, let me give you another example. What is the form of government of the United States?
One question.
Give you three.
Stop for a second there.
Yes.
So it's citizens within the state, but what about people who are resident of the state? They don't represent them?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They've changed the test to make it much harder.
I'm asking you that. I'm asking you guys that.
Yeah.
You're saying this.
Of course, the Constitution says person. It doesn't say citizen.
Right.
The senator represents everybody everybody who's a resident of that state. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen.
Right.
I mean, you might not be able to vote, but that doesn't mean your senator doesn't represent you.
Right. Exactly. That's what I was getting at.
Let me give you another example. This is the new test. And what is the form of government of the United States? And they give you three suggestions. The three suggestions are republic, constitutional-based federal republic, and representative democracy. Those are really difficult suggestions, but it gives you an idea. They've tightened up all of the questions and all of the answers. And so the 28 questions added to the 100 are new, but of the 100 that they had, they've tightened up the 100 and made it much more difficult. So Nelson, you were talking about taking people down, and why don't you just tell the listeners how you prepare somebody who's a client who has a citizenship interview and you're going to go down with them? How do you prepare them?
Well, I mean, I think obviously you ask a lot of these questions during the intake to determine whether or not the person is actually eligible for naturalization. Being a citizen, being a permanent resident for 3 or 5 years does not automatically qualify you to be a citizen. There are obviously other requirements. So typically we set up a consultation, we meet with the client. If the client has ever been arrested in the past, and I want to stress that word, arrested, not convicted, but arrested. Because that is what immigration will ask. Have you ever been arrested? I've had people say no, and of course, immigration will confront them with the derogatory information. The question is, have you ever been arrested? And then they will get into the arrest. an arrest for certain types of crimes within 5 years of getting a green card makes you removable. Some people don't know this. Some people have had a green card for 10, 15 years. But again, as Alan said, they have a skeleton that happened within 5 years of getting a green card. They were convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude. And there's a misconception. Again, a lot of people think, well, I'm not removable. It's not a felony. It's not only felonies that make you removable. So, we do a pre-screen, obviously depending on what the person's situation is. Sometimes, and I do this often, sometimes I may tell my client, listen, I'll help you prepare the application, but, if you want to go on your own, it's okay. In other instances, I tell a client, if you decide to file for citizenship, especially when someone has been in removal proceedings, for some reason, immigration tends to stumble on these type of cases. When someone has been in removal proceedings and the judge has granted their case, those cases tend to be a little more complicated, because once the officer obviously starts checking on the system and he sees you in removal proceedings, many times they don't really know how to proceed. So it's important for an attorney to be there and basically answer all of that officer's questions or concerns, and let him know my client is eligible. I've had instances where I've had to request to speak with a supervisor. And of course, their immediate response is, well, the supervisor's not available. And I say, okay, so I'll have a seat and I'll wait. And 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, guess who shows up? The supervisor. Obviously, as Conrad said before, dealing with immigration is not something I recommend people do on their own, but many people still try it.
Adam, getting back to your original question, the fact is, looking at the sign behind me, immigration is a minefield. Again, some people are going to risk it themselves, maybe because they don't know any better or they don't have the money to hire a lawyer. But just like the general was just saying about these questions, how they've changed the citizenship questions deliberately to make it more difficult to answer, to trick you up. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. This is the government is not your friend. They are not looking to help you, especially this administration. Stephen Miller, if he had his way, this country would be lily white. There would be no more immigrants, and that's a fact. This is not just my opinion. And these are all examples of the types of policies that this administration has created to try to bring that, to make it a reality. That's just a fact. So your listeners out there, we're not saying these things to scare you. These are facts we're telling you. These are not opinions.
And we're here to help. That's the thing. We're giving you this information. Yeah, it may sound overwhelming and may sound scary, but going back to what I started the show with, we are the solution, right? If you have these issues, if these landmines are showing up in your life, preventing you and your family from progressing in this country, from being part of that American dream, why in the world would you not pick up the phone and take advantage of speaking to us for absolutely free? There's no strings attached. And if we get
a lot of people, they're picking up the phone and they think that they can just ask you questions, get your answers,
which we're happy to give, but you got to take it one step further, guys. You got to do it, and most people do. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people this year alone have retained us. We've helped. We did the count, Conrad. We've helped 100,000 people over the course of our firm's history.
Oh, I thought you meant for this year. That was just 2 years.
Thousands and thousands and thousands. You should see our file room. It's file after file after file, and sometimes I walk past these files. The injury cases too. I walk past these files, and you forget that every single folder is somebody, and that somebody has somebody, and that somebody has somebody, and it's really that's why we don't treat our clients like files. We treat them like friends. We treat them like family, because we understand the magnitude of what we're dealing with. We understand the far-reaching impact of the work we do here at the firm. And that's, listen, these guys are the immigration guys. I'm the personal injury guy. But when I hear this stuff, it just doesn't make sense to me that the phones aren't blowing up 24/7, right? We get a lot of phone calls, but people just are just not sure that they want to use a lawyer. Why would you not use a lawyer?
Just to jump in for a second also, I have gone to interviews where, my client does not speak English and needs a translator. And there is the USCIS does provide a translator. Let me give you an example. I was at an interview with a client. The translator was not properly translating the client's statements, and I had to correct that. Had the client been there by themselves, and it's very important also because, for instance, tell us about your bank account, right? Or tell us about your bank account. And the client said, well, our bank account. And the translator said, she said my bank account. I said, she did not say my, she said ours. It translates to a joint account in English. And, it's important because if this person had gone by themselves, there'd be nobody there to correct that. So,
Nelson, I assume the relevance there between my account and our account, we're talking about a marriage case, I'm assuming. And
correct.
This guy was there trying to prove that he had a valid marriage. And if he's saying, well, it's my account, that might lead the examiner to think, it's just his account. Why don't they have a joint account? And that's where little stupid things like that can become so relevant.
Just going back to the naturalization that we talked about, let's take somebody who has a criminal conviction, but he's been coming in and out of the United States, never had a problem at the airport. So how does it come to immigration's attention? Well, now he decides he wants to file for citizenship, and he shouldn't have filed for citizenship because how does this conviction come to their attention? Either through the airport when he comes in or when he files for citizenship. This guy should never have filed. If he came to us and told us about the problem, we would research it, and we might tell him, no, you shouldn't ever file for citizenship. So that's how this comes to bear sometimes. One other interesting item that we did a very successful lecture at the Jamaican consulate a couple of weeks ago. They were very happy about that. We're probably going to go back again for a second version. So it's PPID contributing to the community. We don't charge any money to do lectures, but they were very appreciative of the lecture that we did. We were there for 2 hours answering their questions. We're probably going to have to go back again and do, because we ran out of time in answering their questions. And we do lectures to a lot of different consulates, not just Jamaica, but this is something we did recently.
Speaking, Alan, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. Speaking of lectures, this afternoon, there was an all-day Zoom conference given by the American Business Immigration Coalition, which is a major business, like Chamber of Commerce type coalition that's bipartisan, both Democrat and Republican. And it went all afternoon, and they had some. I'm bringing this up because I don't want everyone to think that this is today is all gloom and doom. It's not. The coalition during their seminar had a lot of people there, including Chuck Schumer from the Senate, John Cornyn, Republican from the Senate, Chris Combs, Susan Collins, Republican from the Senate, Chris Combs, Democrat from the Senate, several high-profile people. Mayorkas, Secretary Mayor, future Secretary Mayorkas, spoke at the end. And the general consensus that I took from this conference today was that the prospects of a comprehensive immigration reform package happening anytime soon is not likely. More likely, the approach that they're going to take is going to be a piecemeal approach, meaning they're going to take one issue, two issues at a time, as opposed to one grand scheme. Especially, well, a lot's going to depend on who wins this Democratic runoff in January. That will tell a lot. But the odds are, even if the Democrats take both seats, it's going to be difficult for them to get a sweeping immigration reform package through, especially because of the pandemic. That's going to be priority number one for the administration when they take over next month. But good news. They're talking about DACA is going to be first on the list. They're going to take care of that immediately, and there's a good chance that it becomes law. As the general said, the public charge rule, which most of you haven't experienced it yet. Those people just filing their cases right now probably are getting a glance at what this 20-page application is about and what they're looking for. It's going to go away. So most people listening aren't going to have to deal with it luckily, thankfully. There are several good things on the horizon. Biden, and this was a theme of the conference today, Biden understands the importance of immigrants, not only to the business community in the United States, but to our heritage. Everybody, every single speaker that came on this, I know a lot of them, every single one paid homage to the fact that the United States is a country of immigrants. Most of them recognize the fact that they came themselves from immigrants, and they all, again, the general overriding theme was immigrants contribute to the United States, that they're a good thing, not an evil, terrible thing, as this administration has tried to portray and has tried to enact regulations and laws to keep people out. We are about to experience a sea change. If nothing else, in overall sentiment, immigrants will once again be welcome to the United States. So for that reason alone, there's reason for optimism, despite all the negative stuff that we've been talking about so far tonight. A lot of good stuff on the way.
In addition, President Biden, President-elect Biden, has said he will impose a 100-day moratorium on deportation and direct ICE to focus only on violent offenders. And Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard from Florida has said that we will treat our immigrants with respect and give them due process, which they aren't having under the Trump administration. So,
one of the speakers also made a point of saying, we're not going to target dishwashers and construction workers anymore.
Great
Right?
stuff here, guys. You're giving a lot of information here. But I wanted to squeeze in two questions here before we conclude, all right? And Adam may want to say something also on PI. A question here on Facebook: how long does it take for a waiver approval for persons to return to their country to complete process of getting a green card?
did you say a waiver approval?
Yeah.
Because if it's a waiver approval, you have to file a waiver first, and that usually goes through USCIS, and that whole process could take another year or more. So we really need more information. That person should really call us for a consultation, talk about what waiver approval he's talking about.
Right. There's many types of waivers. There's provisional waivers. There's criminal waivers, fraud waivers. I mean,
this morning, so she's been watching and listening to our show. You should have called already, Tasha. You said you were going to.
Well, also, Tasha, you have to talk, what kind of waiver is it? Is it a provisional waiver? A provisional waiver, you submit the application to immigration before you leave the country, and you don't leave the country, you don't leave the U.S. until you get that waiver. Other waivers, like a 601 waiver for fraud or waiver of excludability, you can't submit that application until you get to the consulate. And then you have to wait a year, maybe longer, to get that waiver approved. So it depends on the circumstances.
So we need more information on that to answer that question properly.
Yeah, just call the attorneys, guys. 844-774-3529 and hire them and let them do the work for you. As I said this morning, let them do the dirty work. They love doing it. That's what they went to college for. That's what they've done for, pretty much most of their lives. Make them do it. 844-774-3529. Quick one here. Can my minor child, 3 years old, accompany me to the United States by getting on my filing if my daughter, who is a citizen, files for me?
Wait, let's do that one again. The child is born where?
Obviously in Jamaica.
Okay, and the parent is what, a citizen or a permanent resident?
It's coming to the United States.
as what, as a visitor?
Alan, sounds like it's a U.S. citizen daughter applying for her mother, and she's asking if her mother can bring the child with her. Right. The answer is no.
Right.
All right.
The mother has to come first, and then we work on the child, but they can't come together.
Those are the questions I've got there, gentlemen, So want to say thank you all. Adam?
My friend, I'm glad to do this. I'm so, just watching the show, sitting back in the audience, like thousands of other people are doing right now. And I'm just in awe of how solid these guys are. Now, listen, I see them in person every day, but, hearing them, talk their trade really just shows, the level of knowledge that these guys have. And I endorse them 100%. Squeeze, you endorse me 100%. I know, we haven't said it, but I know you're down with PPID.
Come on, you know me, I'm down with PPID.
I hope everybody enjoyed this show. if you want us to do them more often, just put it in the comments. So listen, we'll give the people what they want. But if you can tune in tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. On Facebook or 93.5, we'd love to have you. We'd love to give you more information. We'd love to entertain you. We'd love to get you off to a great day. So thank you so much for listening, watching, viewing, sharing, liking, commenting, supporting our firm. We really are passionate about what we do. We really do love what we do, and we enjoy doing it with each other. These guys on this panel are not only my partners, but they're my friends. And that's why maybe we're even that great, because we don't only enjoy what we do, we enjoy who we do it with. So with that being said, thank you so much. Get some dinner, have some fun, and you guys.
I got a stumper for the attorneys, man. A quick one. This one will take 30 seconds or less. Quick immigration question. Is there anything I can do for work, money while waiting for green card approval and employment authorization? That's it.
Well, if you're in the United States and you don't have employment authorization, theoretically you're working without permission, and the employer who you're working for or with without employment authorization can get hit for hiring you without permission. So it would not be a good idea to try to work without permission. Have a little patience and try to get your working card. You don't want to get your employer into trouble. You won't get into much trouble, but the employer will.
Question.
Well,
Conrad.
he could get into trouble if there's an ICE raid of the workplace.
Correct.
And they round him up, and he happens to be there and says, "Excuse me, sir, where's your green card or your permission to work?" Says, "Sorry, I don't have it."
So both you and your employer could be in trouble for your working without permission.
Is there a way to expedite? Is there a way to expedite the employment authorization?
Not easily done. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's not easily done, because you have to really show them what's the justification to expedite the employment authorization.
I understand, but there is a way then.
In some cases, there's a way depending upon the circumstances.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Okay. Adam looked like he's watering at the mouth.
No, you know what I find myself doing these days too? Working remote. I used to go to the office, do work, come home, and be done. But now that you can work in the office or work remote, I'm reading emails, I'm answering things. Yeah, let's get some dinner. I need to take your boy, the case handler, needs to take a break. I need to unwind. I need to have a cocktail. What are we drinking tonight, Conrad?
Is that
not much, I haven't had I just walked in the door. I told you that I was watching the Zoom meeting all afternoon. I just got home and 5 minutes, and here I sat down to you guys. So unfortunately, these are the faces I've been staring at for the last 12 hours. So I don't have an answer.
Yeah, see, I said I enjoy working with you guys. The truth is, maybe we are sick of seeing each other,
Well, let me just say, I got into the office at about 10 to 7, and it is about 20 to 7. So I am pulling a 12-hour day. So I am fading fast.
Okay. And people who want to see the article from Newsday about PPID and our client, I think that Squeeze has put it up so that it'll be available.
Send me the article.
I did, but I'll do it again if you didn't get it. I thought I sent it to you already.
Oh, no, I didn't get it.
Well, it's also on our website at ppid.com.
Yeah. Go to the PP, but I'll just so I'll just take that URL from the website and I'll paste it right here, right now.
Thanks, Squeeze. We appreciate that.
Thank you all so much. Adam, have your fill. All right. And gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here. It's been a great show. Prior results to guarantee a similar outcome, but we know PPID is the law firm that you should be down with. And remember, personal injury. If you get hurt in an accident, you need the shark, you need the beast, you need the case handler, because you got one chance, one choice, and he's your case handler. 844-774-3529. Thank you all. Have yourself a wonderful dinner.